You ask me, where are you? You say, I can't hear you. And some nights you whisper it so softly, even your own heart can barely admit it. God, are you even there? Yes, child, I heard you, even in the silence, even in the stillness, even in the sobbing pillow, or the distracted prayers whispered between broken thoughts. I was there. I am still here. You think silence means absence, but I have never left you, not once. You live in a loud world, a world of alerts and opinions, of scrolling and shouting. You're taught that anything quiet must be empty, but I do some of my deepest work in the stillness. You want me to speak like thunder. You want signs. You want proof. But often, I speak like wind through leaves, like the tide brushing the shore, like a whisper in your spirit too sacred for language. I am not always loud, but I am always near. You ask, why don't you just answer me? But my beloved, what if the answer is already growing in you slowly, like roots beneath the surface? What if my silence is not rejection, but invitation? You want immediate clarity, but I want deeper faith. You want an explanation, but I offer you transformation. I don't always give you what you want, but I give you what you need. And sometimes, what you need is space, not because I'm far, but because you are learning how to find me beyond your feelings. There are moments I seem silent because I am teaching you to walk without crutches, to stand even when you don't feel me, to trust even when the lights go out, to discover that your faith is more than emotions, more than goosebumps, more than moments of magic. You ask, why did you hide when I needed you most? And I say, I didn't hide. I held you, even when you couldn't feel it, even when everything in you screamed that I was gone. You were too hurt to see me, too numb to hear me, too human to comprehend my presence. But I was there, in the friend who stayed, in the doctor who cared, in the stranger who smiled, in the breath you kept breathing when you thought you couldn't go on. My child, silence is not the same as absence, and hiddenness is not abandonment. Sometimes I am silent because your heart is in too much pain to receive what I'd say. Sometimes I am silent because you are not ready to hear the truth without twisting it through fear. Sometimes I am silent because I have already spoken, and now it's time to trust. You live in a generation addicted to immediacy. Everything must be fast. Everything must be felt. But I am not fast. I am faithful. And sometimes, faithfulness looks like staying with you in the quiet until the noise inside you settles enough to hear me again. You want me to shout, but sometimes I come in the whisper, because if I shouted, you'd obey out of fear. But when I whisper, you lean in, you draw close, you become intimate with me. You say I prayed, and nothing happened. But something did happen. You didn't give up. You kept hoping. You kept seeking, even if with tears, with anger, with doubt. That is faith, and faith forged in silence is often stronger than faith built on constant signs. Sometimes the silence isn't me ignoring you, it's me inviting you to become the answer to someone else's prayer. You want me to speak, then feed the hungry, hold the grieving, walk with the lonely. There I will be. You think silence means I am gone. But remember, my son hung on a cross and cried, my God, why have you forsaken me? Even he felt it, even he asked, but I was never far, not from him, not from you. There are things you can only learn in the quiet, strength you can only find in the desert, a depth of me you can only meet when you are stripped of every false comfort. If I always filled the room with noise, you would never search for the still, small voice. But it's in the stillness where eternity echoes. I know it hurts to feel abandoned. I know what silence does to the soul. But I promise you this, I am never not listening, never not watching, never not loving. You may not feel me, you may not hear me, but I am here, closer than your breath. I've caught every tear, heard every scream behind the smile. I've seen your faith when you kept walking into the dark, even when you could no longer see the path. That moved me, more than you know. So, if I feel silent, rest anyway. If I feel distant, draw near anyway. Faith is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply the courage to keep breathing when you don't feel the fire anymore. And even if you walk away, I follow. You ask me, why do you hide? But I don't hide to be cruel. I hide like treasure hides. So, you seek with your whole heart, because in the seeking, your soul wakes up. I am the God who hides not to punish but to reveal. I want to be discovered, not just believed in. And I promise, if you seek me with all your heart, you will find me. Not always in the way you expected, but always in the way you needed. You ask, why do you feel far? And I ask, what if I'm closer than ever? But you are in a season of stretching, not soothing. I am not far, but I am forming you, in silence, in mystery, in trust. I am not gone. I am not indifferent. I have simply stepped into the quiet so your faith might mature from a child's, hand-holding to a warrior's quiet knowing. So when you say, you're silent, remember, I may not speak in the thunder, but I still walk with you in the storm. I am here, even now, especially now. You are not forsaken. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. I am with you, even when I'm silent, even when I seem far, even when the sky stays quiet and the answers don't come. I am the God who sees, the God who stays, the God who speaks in ways you never imagined. When God is silent, he is still present. When God feels far, he is still near. He is still working, still loving, still here.